Don't Get Got, Jojo Rabbit, and Chuchel. This is Staying In.
I had to faff around with my computer, actually, and pull out the old hard drive because it was starting to make a mechanical sound. It was like... And I was like, oh no. It sounded like it...
That's not mechanical, that's human.
There was a human inside.
Just a little hamster on a wheel. It's like a Flintstones PC.
It's literally R2-D2.
Do you know, okay, you went to Flintstones. I've just finished listening to... I'm halfway through the H.G. Wells book collection. The second book in the collection is a story called The First Men in the Moon. And there are these aliens in it. And they've completely diversified to the point that they have... the H.G. Wells describes some of them as the British Library on the moon is actually people because they remember everything. Some of them are designed to be rememberers, and then some people they're like weavers because they are able to do things with their body that's more physically putting things together. And I found that idea absolutely fascinating. I found it unbelievably fascinating. Do you know he's good? He's good as that H.G. Wells. I catch it. It turns out War of the Worlds is pretty good.
War of the Worlds is an exceptional piece of work.
So you're halfway through, Pete. So you haven't got yet to the worlds bit.
No, I've done War of the Worlds. I've done First Men in the Moon, and I'm halfway through The Time Machine, in which H.G. Wells invents the phrase "time machine," which I think is pretty. It's like. I had no idea it was so, like, pioneering.
I mean, I want to pick Pete up on the fact that he feels he invented the word time machine. You know, he invented the juxtaposition of two already existing words.
Yeah, the phrase. I said the phrase.
He invented the phrase time machine.
He came up with the phrase time machine. Okay. Yeah.
It's not quite J.M. Barrie creating a whole new first person's name, but fair enough.
Oh, man. Well, sorry, yeah, no, Wells... nothing. Nothing doing. Like, absolute... What? I don't even know why I'm bothering.
No. It's bloody easy to put two words together, like lamp paper. There we go. A piece of paper that shines like a lamp and you can put everywhere. But try and create a first person's name that's never been heard before that legitimately sounds good.
Zordon.
You mean the leader of the Power Rangers?
No, hang on. Again, that's just Zordon. That's Zordon.
No, not Zordon. That's my father. Zordon.
That's definitely already a name that exists.
Zordon. Zordan.
Zordon is a surname.
Surname. First name.
Well, that's cheating. You can't just take...
No, I've done it. So, you know, what I'm saying is I'm better than H.G. Wells. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
But no, I think it's generally cheating if you're just using surnames as first names.
Okay, what about require?
How are you spelling?
R-I...
Q.
U-I...
Yeah.
O. If it is, I'm going to be furious.
I think you might have done it.
I've done it. Literary genius.
So we've established that's not an actual name. Are we saying that's a good name? Yeah.
Also, in terms of spelling, require, R-I-Q-U-I-O.
Yeah. Require.
I mean, require.
Yeah, I was going to say that's require.
Can we just take a tally? Who invented the name? It was me. So who gets to say what the spelling is? It was me. So
he's got you there, son.
Okay, so obviously all names have meaning. My name means heard by God in Hebrew, as we all know.
Yes, as we all know. Yep.
So what does require mean?
Yeah, what's the etymology of require?
Also, is it gender specific? Are we
require? Yeah. No, it's not gender specific. It's kind of like Robin in that it's kind of like gender neutral. I would say it means baker of souls.
Baker of souls.
Is this the first recording in 2020?
It is it's the first time we have been congregated together since 2019 ticked over.
Oh, that's nice. 2020. 20plenty. That's what I'm calling it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 20plenty of getting stuff done. That's my motto for 2020.
Join us in a year's time to find out if that caught on.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, didn't you give up New Year's resolutions?
Yeah,
Wasn't
I did.
that, like,
Yeah,
your thing?
it's not a New Year's resolution.
So surely, how is this not a resolution?
It's not a resolution. It's more.
It's just a pun-inspired resolution.
It's
It's a mantra.
It's it's like an affirmation of new year, new me, new play on puns.
That's a resolution.
But yeah, 20plenty of getting stuff done.
It's not a resolution. It's just Pete's resolving to kind of do things a bit differently. And
How is
try
that a
new things.
resolution?
And he's
Dan,
resolving
how is
that he's
that a
going to do
resolution?
these specific things over the next 12 months, but it's not a resolution.
It's 20plenty, so I haven't got time for this. This debate is pointless. So basically, it's about like I don't know about you guys, but like I am absolutely a slave to my mobile phone when I get home. Like as soon as I get home, I'm like, I just want to sit on the couch. I'll just play around on my phone for like 5-10 minutes because like my head's already full of stuff. Like I always feel like that, and then it's always like 20 minutes and maybe half an hour and 40 minutes, and then I'm just faffing around like doing nothing on my phone. You don't, yeah, but you're very disciplined. You're a very disciplined person, Sam, and I definitely do that. I definitely get into this mind state of I'll just have sort of like low grade anxiety by sort of vaguely scrolling through Twitter and seeing the world collapse. Whereas what I really want to be doing is like reading. Or like playing a game, or talking with my loved ones. This idea of like there's so many. I can't remember who it was. There was a really interesting tweet the other day about like people have forgotten how to have hobbies. People have forgotten how to have like just derive pleasure from doing something for yourself. Not everything needs to be a side hustle. Not everything needs to.
Not
make
everything
money.
needs to be monetized and
right.
Yeah.
Did you ever used to put like hobbies and pastimes on your CV when you were like 15, 16?
Yep,
I still do, mate. Yeah, it's really important.
I've got. Don't get me wrong. It's a small element of my CV, but it's
it's like a sentence. Yeah,
and it always says reading. It always says reading and walking.
Sam, yours is like. Listen, I have some really strong opinions on Euro games. All right. No, I find that stuff really important. In fact, you have a sentence on it, and the trick on a CV with hobbies is include a hobby that is so weird they have to invite you in for an interview to find out really what it's all about.
What's the weirdest hobby you've had on a CV?
That I've put on a CV?
No, that you've received.
Oh, that I've received and read.
CV.
I had somebody.
Careful.
A friend of mine. Here you go. Here's one thing. It wasn't quite on a CV, but it's a good example. A friend of mine. He went for a job at. Sega, and they said, "Is there anything that you would shows that you really love the Sega brand, that that shows your commitment to loving Sega over a period of time?" Because this was for a role that was about like getting people excited about the brand basically, and he pulled up the side of his hair. Because when he was in Japan doing a tour of Japan to go and see all the cool places, he went and got a full side of his head tattoo of the Sega logo. And he showed that in his interview, and they were like, "Can we take a photo of this for our LinkedIn?" And it was like, he said to me, that was the point at which I knew I'd got the job. I was like, yes, you did. And yeah, he absolutely nailed it. So
I've just gone to responseWebRecruitment.co.uk.
Okay.
And I've got their 100 funniest things that they've ever read.
Oh, I love it.
Unfortunately, the link that takes me to the second 50 funniest things that they've read on CVs doesn't work. It's a page not found. So we'll just do the top 50.
Okay, top 50. Do it.
These are apparently real CVs that were handed in to Response Web Recruitment.
Okay.
So throughout the show, I'll just ask you to give me each a number from 1 to 50.
Okay.
And I'll make a note of what numbers you pick, so we don't repeat them. And I'll just read out what they were on a CV.
Brilliant.
Can I have the number 14?
Employment history. whilst working in this role, I had intercourse with a variety.
What?
with a variety of people.
Okay. Yeah.
Pete, do you want one?
Yeah, and I know why they've used that word as well. 27.
27. Key skills. This is a good one. Keeping family home clean, tidy and hygienic. Undertaking basic DIY, operating domestic tasks like cleaning, washing, cooking, dealing with emergencies smoothly, dealing with health issues, supervising, supporting, guiding, and organising children. And Dan?
I'm going to go with 17.
17.
Ooh.
Hobbies. Enjoy cooking Chinese and Italians.
Is this all the same CV?
Sam, did you manage to play any more sort of... I know you're a big fan of like social games. Did you manage to play any Christmas stuff?
Oh, yes. Christmas. Always a great time for the social gamer in your life, I guess. My wife was ill through Christmas.
That's because she hugged me.
Yeah, because she hugged Kris.
And Kris said, please don't hug me because you'll get ill. And she said, oh, it doesn't matter.
But she did. So Christmas Day, we played a little bit of Monica's and some Medium and
a little bit of Monica.
And Monica's is always a great hit.
Yes.
The highlight this year was my dad.
He's the highlight every year, to be fair.
My surname is Turner.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
No one knows my first name, but it's Turner, the surname.
Okay.
So in Monica's, the first round, you get a card. You've got to describe to your team what's on the card. My dad got Tina Turner, right? And you'd think, easy. Verbatim,
Yep.
this is how my dad described this to the team. Her first name and second name have the same first letter as my surname.
Right, yeah. All right. Hey.
So that was Christmas.
Oh.
I mean, I'm trying to run the cogs of my head through the thought process that didn't go to it's the same surname
It's
as me.
also my name.
Yeah, my surname. Yeah.
Draw attention to the surname and the fact that the surnames kind of match, but don't actually state the fact that they actually match. Yeah. Only identify the fact that the first letters are the same. Brilliant.
But the most fun I had over the Christmas period was playing a game that doesn't need a board, doesn't need a timer, doesn't need a table, doesn't need chairs, doesn't require any of that. All it requires is 2 to 8 people who are happy to spend most of a lovely evening slightly paranoid and suspicious of every single person in the room who's also playing the game.
That's just my average.
I think using the term slightly paranoid is somewhat understating the level of paranoia that is inflicted upon the group. I also played this on Christmas. I actually played this on Christmas Day.
What's it called? What's it called?
What's it called, everyone?
I was building up the tension.
This is Don't Get Got from Big Potato Games.
Oh, lovely Big Potato.
Now, have we talked about this game before?
No, we've talked about 20-Second Showdown from Big Potato.
That's where I recognise the name.
But we've not talked about Don't Get Got. So, so I got the big box version of it, and Dan was lucky enough to get the Christmas version of the.
I did. I got a festive Christmas version.
A festive version. So I think there are some differences between the two things. But if you get the big box version, what you get inside is you get all these little cards, and then you get 8 of these yellow plastic wallets that if you ever were lucky enough to be part of the Beano Club when you were a kid, it's like the little plastic wallets you got then.
Yes.
What?
Or like, for more of an up-to-date reference, the plastic wallet you keep your Oyster card in, even though no one has Oyster cards anymore. So keep.
Oh my god, I'm seeing this Beano plastic wallet, and this is some serious memories coming back.
Yeah,
he's having a Proustian moment. Like your school bus pass, Sam. Something like that.
School bus pass. So basically a little plastic wallet that you can put into your back pocket and carry you with you.
Yeah.
And essentially what you do when you start the game is, and this is wonderful because I played this game twice. First time we played it, me, Kris, my wife, his partner, and a friend of ours were all going for this lovely wine and cheese evening.
Yep.
And we all sat in my car before we started, and I got the game out and basically asked everyone if they wanted to play, and they were all on board. And so I give everyone their wallets and then 5 basically small cards which slot into these 5 little plastic slots. And on each of those cards is written a task, or they're more like pranks more than anything. I mean, I'm hesitant to ruin anything that's in this game because the joy is not knowing what people might be doing.
Yeah.
Hence the suspicion and paranoia. So all I'll give as examples is a 3 that are on the back and 1 for later on. So the 3 that are on the back of the box are tell a player something is voice activated and get them to try it. Make a player yawn, or hide this card in a jar and get a player to open it. So the idea of the game is you've got this wallet which is filled with these 5 tasks, and through the course of an evening or maybe even a weekend or even a week, you can play this game over any sort of time period that you define with your friends or family, God help you. And you're basically trying to get as many of these tasks completed without the other players knowing that you're completing these specific tasks. Now, the game says it's the first to 3 tasks wins, but we kind of just played until like the end of the evening, didn't we, Kris?
Oh, I didn't even know there was that first to 3.
That's exactly what we did as well.
We literally played the entire evening, and my neighbour was there. He'd invited us to go to this event, which was a great evening, but we were constantly looking around the table, suspicious constantly of any action, any movement, anything said by the other person. It was quite a weird... It was like we were rehearsing a play.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to remember our lines. So I would just say something innocently, like, could you pass this? And people go, no. I was like, no.
Well, no, Kris, you're just slightly embellishing, I think, the truth somewhat. Because there is a rule in Don't Get Got, which is at any point, another player can ask of another player if what they're doing is part of the game, and they have to be 100% honest. And if what they are doing is part of a task they're trying to complete, they have to say it is, and then they fail that task.
Oh, I've forgotten that.
Then you take out the little card and you can fold it over, and on one side it's got failed it, and one of the other times it's got nailed it. So you're keeping track of what you're kind of succeeding and you're failing at. So, like, I agree with you, that level of suspicion and paranoia is there, but I think the game manages to handle it very well. That very easily
hilarious.
you just ask someone, is this part of the game? And they go, no. You go, right, carry on with your conversation.
But equally, you take pleasure in the fact, because these wallets are bright yellow, you're less likely to kind of get them out of your pocket, because you're going to just draw attention to other people in this area. So you take great pleasure in the fact that even though you don't know what the other players' aims are, you all know that you know something that everyone else in this room doesn't know, and that itself gives you a sense of pleasure. But it's also important to say that we've all got a task that is one task that we all have, for example.
Yes.
So there is one thing that we're constantly on the guard for, because we all have that same task.
Yeah, and it's a task that can't be failed. So you can go at this task however many times you want to do it. You can't fail at it. Everyone knows what you're trying to do, and all that task is say guess what, and get another player to say what. So we were having this lovely like sit down meal, and there'd just be some silence, and like Kris would turn to me and just be like, guess what? And I'd have to be like, what? And I think in a way those little pockets of like joy and celebration and competition is what summed up Don't Get Got for me. Is that like we were having this nice meal, and the second time I played it, we were having this bigger Christmas party. And after the first sort of 10-15 minutes where people realise that they can't just like hammer out all of their tasks in one go, and they realise that, hang on, I'm going to have to be a bit more clever about this and really think about how I'm going to get, right, who am I going to pick for this task? How am I going to get them in that position to do this? That for me, that paranoia and suspicion sort of dies away. And the minute it starts simmering in the background, that's when this game sort of leaps into the foreground, because you'll just be doing something and then suddenly someone would just like, if it happens to you, even though you're losing, technically, it's wonderful that you'll just be having a conversation with someone and then they'll just put their hand in their pocket and then like just like turn over a card saying they've nailed something. And that's just like, for me, like, I love those moments, because then everyone goes like, oh, what have they done? What have they done? Oh my God, I can't believe they ran. And then you tell the story of how you managed to create that element to put that person in that position. So when we were playing with Kris and when I was playing with my family and stuff, it was just like, we could get on with our party. We could get on with like having a meal and just like catching up. And if anything we did was something suspicious, then we could easily just snap back into it and just carry on with the meal. But then when something happened, immediately it was just like this moment of like joy and like questions and investigation and wanting to know more about, like, everyone enjoyed everyone else succeeding. And I just love that part of the game where, you know, the game wants you to be creative and inventive, but I want to hear like how Dan got along with it and like the differences between the two, because I don't think you didn't get the wallets in your version.
No,
did you, Dan?
No. So for me, because I obviously had the Christmas version, and I played this on Christmas Day with kind of all my family, and so for that, all I really got was the kind of the standard cards, which were just the tasks, and then I got the cards of the guess what cards. So that's all I had. So I didn't have kind of the extra bits as well. So everyone just ends up having 6 cards that all at the same, and then you kind of play like that. And again, we played it in a way of we'll just play until 7 o'clock, and then that's where we'll check scores and stuff like that.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I just think, because once you get to 3, and then once someone's won, then people, because it's, especially for me, because it was Christmas, you're kind of like, well, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of my day now. I'm not going to worry about it. But what I did find fascinating, you've obviously talked about it, was just that sense, because I was really excited about playing it, and we eventually got everyone in the room together, because obviously people are cooking dinner and doing all different pieces. Eventually got them all together and explained it to the people. And obviously it's a very easy game. As soon as you've got the cards, you completely understand how the game is played and
what you got to do.
There's very little kind of even for people who don't play games in this way, there's very little kind of stuff you have to explain, because it's all very self-explanatory. But what I loved about it was that sense of that it wasn't something that you all... I mean, I love sitting down to play board games, but this wasn't a game that you sit down and play. It doesn't take a portion of your day out and say, this is where we're going to play a game. We'll play games later on. But what it is, because we did it right at the start of the day, we said, okay, this is just a game for our day now. And what was fascinating was, as soon as those cards went out, immediately paranoia set in. Immediately, everyone starts questioning every single thing everyone is saying. And also, everyone is looking at other people to try and work out, what are you doing? Why have you got your arm around
What's your game
her?
plan?
Why are you standing there like that? What are you trying to do? And what was brilliant is, they're all kind of, I played with kind of my wife or her sisters, kind of brother-in-law, mother-in-law, that stuff things. But also my nephew, who's 11. Which is just kind of on the cusp of kind of a good age for him. So he got the cards, and he obviously loved it, but his paranoia set in, and he was just kind of, how do I do this?
Oh my gosh.
Part of me felt sorry, because I feel like I ruined at least part of his Christmas, because he was just kind of so focused.
Don't eat the turkey.
He was so focused on how he could, and he couldn't figure out, and he was trying to come up with plans about how he could do it. And what you find is, you find people kind of trying to work out the weak link in the group. Who could you get away with getting something?
You did that, Sam, definitely.
I actually, because a lot of the cards that I got, I ended up really struggling to be able to do them. There was just no real way of me being able to do it. One thing I had to get. I will say this one, and it's probably a bit easier for me to say, 'cause spoilers not as much of a problem because it's a Christmassy one. I had to try and get someone to Google or convince someone that Christmas was originally called Crizzle Mizzle. That's tough. That's tough.
Named by Peter Willington.
So what I came up with the idea was, okay, what I'll do is I'll pretend that my cracker has a fact in it talking about Crizzle Mizzle, and I planned it all out. So I was like, yes, I could do this. It's going to be awesome because it's going to be a really tough one. I'm going to get it. Sat down, and one of my wife's sisters had brought the crackers, but what they'd done was they'd removed the stuff from inside and made their own insides. So we all opened it, and I was like, oh no, that's like the only way I could do this. And it's been taken away from me. So I got like midway through that, I was like, I can't do some of these. The possibility's just not really there for me.
Yeah.
But I then love just watching other people and trying to spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're being a bit odd over there. What are you doing? Why are you lingering over there? What are you doing? And I just found that fascinating. I gave up the desire to want to win, and just if opportunity arose that I could get something brilliant, but I was happy just to watch people enjoy that kind of paranoia and watch people try and formulate plans, and that was the best bit. Everyone was trying to work out a plan of getting someone to do something, and that's the best thing I found about the cards, is that every single of the tasks that I saw, every single task was more or less simple enough, but it was just a little bit challenging. So none of them were quite completely... I mean, the Crizzle Mizzle one was slightly outlandish, but none of them were completely outlandish that someone would call you on it immediately. However, none of them are also dead simple, so it's not pass me the turkey or something like that, because that would just be so simple. It would be get someone to take turkey off my plate. That would be, again, just taking it one step beyond a basic action, and I think that's what made it work so well, that suddenly anything could the things that you would never question, you start to question everything then.
I agree with you, Dan, just that flexibility, that seeing what other people are planning and enjoying like the stories that are woven within that. Like I'll briefly share with you my two favourite moments from Don't Get Got. One was on the wine evening with Kris. My wife disappeared because there was a little wine shop, and then she sent me 2 JPEGs on WhatsApp. I was like, that's a bit weird, with the question, which one? And I opened the first JPEG, and it was of a bottle of wine. So then I opened the second JPEG, but it turned out to be a picture of her Don't Get Got card, which said, put this in a file and get another player to open it.
Jeez.
Oh.
It was absolutely staggeringly brilliant. And for me, the joy was like, obviously she succeeded. Whenever my wife succeeds, I succeed.
Yeah.
But then being able to like share that story with everyone else playing the game,
that's so smart,
was brilliant. And then my own personal victory was at our Christmas party. And mine was put a plaster on and get a player to comment on it. So I went in the kitchen, put a plaster on.
Where did you put it on, Sam?
I put it on the back of my right hand. And I sat there for an hour. No one noticed. No one was doing anything. No one noticed at all. It was like a skin-coloured plaster. So then I went into the kitchen and got a bit of tomato ketchup.
Oh, for God's sake.
and I just applied it around the top of the plaster and then went back into the room. 30 minutes later, my brother-in-law comes up to me and goes, "Oh, have you hurt your hand?" And I went, "Nope." Pulled out the wallet and then just flipped it around. Oh, it was fantastic.
Why didn't you just like put it over one of your eyes or something?
Because then people are going to go, "Is that part of the game?"
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then I fail. So I had to think about like how to draw attention to it, but also make.
I love these kind of pervasive games.
Yeah.
It's great. And is it reasonably priced, Sam?
Yeah, about £20, probably less.
That feels about right.
But The quality components are really, really good because you need something robust if you're going to have it lodged in your back pocket.
Yeah, and definitely people are going to be drinking and eating around it.
Exactly. No, I loved it. I'd happily play that again. And I'm not big on party games, but I'd happily play that again.
Like if we're lucky enough to meet up this year and go and climb a mountain again or something stupid, then it's the perfect thing to, like, at the start of the day, just get it set up and then just kind of just see what happens at the end of the day, see who's got the most, like, wins or successes or failures, and that's it. It's great. It's really good.
Sam, number 45, please.
Oh, 45. Hang on. Number 45 of the funniest things that response web recruitment have had on CV. Key skills. I have extensive experience with foreign accents.
What?
Not languages, accents.
So yeah, at first when I read it, I thought, hang on, that's a pretty good skill, but then realised, no, it's accents.
Oh man!
Oh, gosh, it's like an actor's CV.
Can I have?
Repeat.
Can I have number 50?
50, right. Hobbies. Yeah, here we go. Painting my toenails in varying colours.
That's nice.
Is that a hobby though?
I mean, anything's a hobby.
It depends. It depends what you're painting on them.
It's like the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, if you're painting the Mona Lisa, then yeah that's a hobby.
But I argue it's not a hobby unless there's a magazine devoted to it.
Oh, there'll be. Oh, mate, I don't know if you've seen the state of print, but there will definitely be a magazine devoted to it.
Really?
Oh, dude, there's 4 Koi monthlies.
Dan?
Number 1.
Okay.
Biggie.
I've just seen some great ones. I'm going to have to pick some of these out at the end. Achievements. I came first in the school long distance race.
That's like me saying when I won the Year 8 boys cross country and I was the only Year 8 boy who entered.
Oh.
And I had like an awards ceremony and everything.
I'm just gonna pick out a personal fave of mine every time we do this. My favourite so far is number 2, which is hobbies. Horse riding with an E. Like going pub when haven't got my kids. Looking after kids and doing stuff with them when they ain't at school.
Oh.
I mean, that is a real slice of someone's life, isn't it? Really, yeah. What a snapshot. We had a friend of ours we all studied with. He told an agency that he could horse ride. He said he hadn't ridden a horse for like 9 years. And he also said, but he didn't tell him he hadn't ridden a horse for like the 20 years or so before that. He basically never ridden a horse. And he turned up for this acting job having to ride a horse in front of like over 1,000 people. What a blagger.
But at least he didn't put, as number 39 on this list, key skills. Quick learner. Learner spelt Lerner.
So, apart from spelling...
Good at maths and spelling. And spelling's got 1 L.
That's not real.
Oh my gosh.
That's not real. That one's not real.
That can't be real.
Reminds me.
That can't be.
So it's 2019.
It's not, mate. It's not.
It's 2020.
Oh crap!
Yeah, it's TwentyPlenty.
Sorry, I'm just looking at.
It's
I'm looking at
2020.
notes. So let's just scrub that. But knowing Sam, who's editing this, he'll keep that in.
Of course, because
yeah.
We had a whole discussion earlier about how it's not 2019 anymore.
No. What rhymes in 19, Pete? Give me that. What was your 19 thing last year? What rhymes in 19?
Grindteen.
No, that was it, yeah.
20 grindteen.
Yeah.
He spent the entire year just grinding.
Yeah.
Just his teeth, mainly.
So it's 2020. I know what you're thinking. Where's my satire fix? Sam and I went to the cinema. We introduced my partner to the Odeon Deluxe. She walked out, Sam.
Oh.
She said, "I don't want to go into any other cinema than this one."
Do you have to sip your litre of Coke with your little finger out? Like,
it's in a brandy glass, Pete. It's just between my fingers in my hand, nestling, and I just kind of
Just swirling it.
I mean, I did have a litre of Coke. The last 30 minutes of the film we're about to talk about are literally forgotten to me because I was focusing so much on not wetting myself.
A litre, Chris.
I know. I took a leaf out of your father-in-law's book, Sam.
I know it's only £1 more for large, but it is just not worth.
I severely
the hassle.
regretted it. I'm not going to lie. Honestly.
You also realise you don't have to drink it all.
Oh, of course you do, Sam. I'm sorry.
You can stop, though.
It's £5 for that litre. You've got to drink it. You're spending £5 on a litre of Coke. You are drinking it.
I've got to wait for Sam to come up with his next grift. And so I'm talking about Jojo Rabbit by Taika Waititi, who's a director I really, really love ever since Eagle vs. Shark. Hunt for the Wilder People, which in my opinion is his best film. Thor Ragnarok, which we have talked about before on the pod. And What We Do in the Shadows.
2 mixed reviews.
Yeah. And this is a film that it's important to state first. This is a film that is set in Germany towards the end of World War II. And it's the fact that he's deliberately set it towards the end of World War II that is crucial. It's an adaptation of Christine Noonan's book, Caging Skies, that he wrote years ago. Like, he wrote it way before he did Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows, and it's just been sat there kind of gathering dust, this script. And it's very interesting hearing that, because when you watch it, part of me thinks this feels like one of his early films. But to some extent also, there's a degree of lessons learned from previous films. It does feel like his newest film, but it's an interesting kind of toing and froing in that regard. So what you have is the end of the Second World War in Germany seen through the eyes of a young boy who was a member of the Hitler Youth, called Johannes, or Jojo is his nickname, who has this kind of blind, youthful fanaticism for Nazism and Adolf Hitler, who is essentially his hero, but he's surrounded by adults who are quickly realizing that the war is ending, whether they're adults who are fully in agreement initially with Nazism, or those who are secretly against it. So you've got the youth trying to kind of fit in and think, oh yeah, this is very, very cool, whilst adults are very much jaded and very clear and understanding of the fact that the war is ending and it's not going to end in their favour. Or it's just going to end and there'll be peace, and thankfully there will be this. And so it's told through the eyes of this child. And I suppose the linchpin or the hook of this film is the fact that he has an imaginary friend, and that imaginary friend is a version of Adolf Hitler, who this child has never met. He's only seen on posters and in films and seen in propaganda. And that Hitler is played by the director Taika Waititi. And what you have are the kind of major trademarks of Waititi film, that kind of deadpan humour. And a bit like Hunt for the Wilder People, it flirts with fantasy, a little bit more so in this film, obviously, when you've got Adolf Hitler played by, to quote the director, a half Polynesian, half Jewish man. And already, yeah, there's comedy there, but and as Dan alluded to, this film has been a little bit polarizing amongst some of the critical voices who find it swings from tragedy to comedy quite strong. That the pendulum does swing quite fast, and I was very apprehensive going into this film, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it is because of those hard swings. It both pulls punches in the sense there's lots of brevity, there's lots of humour. You laugh out loud. I mean, Sam was guffawing as he usually does, and that's a good indicator. But equally, it doesn't pull punches, and it goes back and forth between them. Like, you feel like you're shadowboxing, and then somebody punches you in the face, and then suddenly you're back to shadowboxing and you're laughing again. And I can imagine for some critics that would be quite off-putting, but what makes this a fantastic piece is the fact that, and Taika Waititi says this is his most mature film, and I think he said that for a reason. And I've listened to a lot of interviews with him about this film. He gets quite prickly because he's sensing the fact that people are just going to instantly pounce on the fact that this, on face value, is quite controversial subject matter. But actually, it's not so much a film about World War II. It's a film about just hate in general, and it's an anti-hate film, And I think if you ignore its context of World War II, there's a reason why you don't see any footage of Adolf Hitler in it. The only version of Hitler you see is the imaginary version of Hitler, seen through the eyes of Jojo. That's quite telling. It's more an allegory than it is trying to be a magical realist version of what it was at that time. And it doesn't shy away from the realism at all. There's a sequence where a character played by Rebel Wilson towards the end of the war, she has strapped grenades to the back of children. She pulls the cord and pushes them out and asks and shouts to them to go and hug the nearest American.
Well, it does shy away from some sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget the certificate of the film. It's a 12A, so
But I think quite interestingly, when Taika says that this is his most mature film, I find that quite interesting when everything that this film does is through the eyes of a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's the key thing, because I was trying to think of the most recent satirical film I've seen around a similar time. Not best, but like I think like The Death of Stalin, for example, which is set in the USSR in 1950 with Armando Iannucci, which is told through adults just bickering. Mm-hmm. Like there's no real emotion in there per se that is that kind of heartfelt kind, which you do get in this in spades. There is this real heartfelt emotion of a child struggling to acclimatise to the fact that the reality he knows and adores is crumbling around him, and realising that actually, what's my place in this world? As a child about to become a teenager, which is a difficult time anyway, and all these things, these heroes of his, people he adores, aren't that fact. And I think what's quite telling is when you've got people like Sam Rockwell's character, who is this general who himself is jaded, and he has to put on this persona of the war is going great for the kids and the Hitler Youth. So there's a lot here to unpack, and I'm so glad I saw this film because it is genuinely hilarious. And as much as we can kind of talk about the serious subject matter, which is obviously prevalent here, it is a hilarious film. I just think just be prepared to get a punch in the face occasionally, which you need to have when you're talking about this subject matter.
I would say that it sounds like a lot of that sort of 1960s, 1970s, quite sort of like that sort of resurgence in like Brechtian theatre that happened, where it was like taking...
It did make me think of Brechtian.
Like taking really quite difficult subject matters and making comedy out of it, so that when it did turn dark, the impact was much greater. Whereas like, you know, in contrast to, you know, something whereby it's dark, and then you're just constantly feeling like, oh God, this is absolutely dreadful. But the kind of, it's almost like you sort of like settle into how bad it is, and nothing really shocks you anymore. Whereas like when you intersperse it with comedy, it's much more like, oh, okay. I guess like if it almost like the almost like reverse of this is like The Producers, whereby like, The Producers is very much a comedy, always going for comedy, and then every once in a while there'll be a line in it where you're like, "Ooh, I don't like that." Like that. That's really quite dark.
Yeah, that's my level. That's my limit. That's my threshold.
Right.
I'd say. And I think what's quite interesting is what's the comedy for me lies in fact of the immaturity of the adults and the surprising maturity of the children, particularly. Yorgi, who is Jojo's best friend, played by Archie Yates, who is hilarious, who is a child that is basically, from what I understand, looks to be a 40-year-old man inside a child's body, who has this world-weary kind of way of talking about the world, like he's lived for like decades, and he's like 11, and he just says, yeah, I mean, this is a quote from the film, it's not a good time to be a Nazi right now. And you know, and those kind of moments there, and comedy and tragedy, it's all about those misshapen juxtapositions. Sam, 18.
Here we go. Funny things that have been on the CV. Oh,
that's a good sound. I love it when Sam does that laugh where he starts to wheeze. I love that. I live for that sound.
Where it sounds as like he should be trying to catch a pigeon.
So sometimes I'll have the podcast playing, and like Veronica will just hear it, and she goes, "Oh, Sam's laugh." It just cuts through everything.
I'm going to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor tomorrow, so maybe it's symptomatic of something a bit serious. Anyway, job history. Yes. Career break in 1999 to renovate my horse.
Just having an extension put in.
Pete?
I would like 49.
49. Down to the end of the list. Here we go. Work experience. Night stalker in Tesco.
Other brands are available.
Dan?
39.
Key skill. Oh no, we've had 39. That was key skills, quick learner, good at maths and spelling.
I'll take 32 then, please, Sam.
32. Right. Okay. Job history. Left last 4 jobs only because the managers were completely unreasonable.
That is a red flag. Do not hire this person.
No. And I think my favourite of this particular round is 46. Cover letter. Please disregard the attached CV. It's totally outdated.
What? What is wrong with people?
Oh God! Oh, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Do you know what I completed the other day?
What did you complete? Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Well, I'm one of those poor saps who has the Microsoft Surface 2 tablet, which doesn't have very good games on it, but there's one good game on it, and that's Machinarium. It's the only good game on my tablet.
I did enjoy that game. I think it's the only game I completed on my iPad as well.
Yeah, it is. For some reason, that on a tablet just worked for me. There was something quite satisfying about just kind of that literally just point and click kind of thing. I really, really love it.
And a fantastic soundtrack as well.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, no, I listen to that sometimes when I'm at work. But it's Amanita Design or something, I can't remember.
Yeah, Amanita Design. They're the people who ended up... so Alex actually got one of her jobs because of them. Not at their thing, but because the thing to get her job was the lead artist at the studio said, "Here's Machinarium, try and replicate the art style." And it's like a really odd... It's like a really odd,
it's beautiful.
But beautiful art style. And she spent ages trying to replicate it, and but couldn't quite get to it because obviously draw all the lines and make it. You know, she's really talented artist, but couldn't quite replicate it, and she was really banging her head against it. And then she passed the true test that was actually being set. She went and did a load of research into how they did it because it turns out the person had done a talk about it, and they used their weak hand for drawing. So they were a very, very talented artist, but they used the opposite hand to the hand they would usually draw with, and that's what creates this slightly strange, misshapen visual. And so Alex then copied it in terms of she then did the drawing with her other hand and provided that and was like brilliant, and that got her the job.
That is a great fact.
Isn't that a good fact? I actually played Chuchel not super recently.
Yes, that was it. This is something I really wanted to play because it's got a similar animation style. It looks really fun.
Yeah, it looks a lot like... have you played Botanicula, which is one of the other Amanita Design games?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay. So it's... it kind of pushes visually much more down the Botanicula style, which is to say that it kind of looks a little bit photographic, kind of almost like collaged together, with animation, kind of with everything being animated. Like it's very well put together. I don't want it to sound like it's just sort of photos moving across the thing, and the But the actual, the thing that really drew me to it was the trailer for it, which is on the Google Play Store. So this is on... I played this on mobile. I don't know if it's available elsewhere, but the trailer was a riot. From the opening moment of, saying what this game is... all the way to the end of go and buy it now on this platform. It was just so intense. It was like, go, 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 go. And not in a sort of like Call of Duty doing sick headshots kind of thing, but like riotously funny, lots and lots of physical humor, lots of silliness and loud music and loud noises and intense color. Just intense. And I just thought, I've got to play this. So I grabbed it. And it is that all the way through, except for the moments in which you are thinking. It's the story of a character called Chuchel, who is a little red fuzzball with a little black hat. They're sort of a frenemy, I guess, like rival someone called Chuchel. And Chuchel is constantly trying to steal Chuchel's little fruit that he finds. It looks like a little cherry. And Chuchel just wants to have the fruit, basically. And what happens then is about 2 or 3 hours of how he gets into scrapes, the strange creatures that inhabit this weird land that Chuchel's part of, how Chuchel manages to best him at the last minute in a lot of scenes. There's a great sense of Chuchel is very small, and everything else around him, he seems to be a very small character in a very big world. But Chuchel is just full of energy and like really. He's like. Did you ever watch Stop It and Tidy Up back in the day?
I was literally just about to say that. It honestly does remind me of that. Stop It and Tidy Up.
It's kind of like Stop It and Tidy Up. And he is Stop It. Basically, he's this little ball of red energy, and he's like the big thing he does is he goes like that's just this. He gets like really upset about things. He's always really angry, but in a very cute kind of way. And you figure your way out, figure your way through these environments, just in this very strange comedy game. The audio as well. I really want to point to that. It's all created by one person, which isn't so different, but it's all created with physically by them. So a lot of the times they'll have let's say for example Chuchel is climbing up a pipe, let's say, or something along those lines. The person who created the audio will make the sound themselves. Like they'll go ooh, 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 or
kind of like Foley artwork.
Yeah. And but they as I say, they'll put everything together themselves, and everything feels really, again, like Botanicula, feels very Botanicula feels natural. This definitely feels very material. It feels like very tactile, just simply because everything feels like everything feels really handmade and handcrafted.
I think for me, I think all the things that you've mentioned, Pete, in terms of kind of the feel of the game being quite tactile and the way they use sound and stuff. For me, because I've played it on mobile, so I played it on the iPad. The sense I got, my feeling as I kind of was playing it was like, this feels like what it must be like to kind of go on like an acid trip or something like that. They're just like the visuals and what it's doing and everything that's happening. It's so weird and kind of unusual, and just the use of colours and the use of shapes and some of the imagery that it invokes is kind of like really bizarre and really kind of unique. And kind of as I was watching it, it was kind of like trying to get my head around both the puzzles but also just the visuals of everything. It was just really kind of very left field for me.
I feel like, do you remember when you were growing up, do you remember pixie sticks?
Yes.
No. So they were little short, this was when we thought, you know what, let's just fill the oceans with plastic. You remember those little short plastic tubes of sherbet?
The ones that are filled with sherbet?
Yeah,
I think we call them K-lies. I don't quite know why.
K-lies?
K-lines?
K-lies. Okay. I don't know why.
K-lies. All right.
It was just what they were called in school. I feel like we've had this conversation before.
K-lies? I don't remember this at all.
I've never heard of.
So if you remember K-lies, it's you remember when you get like 2 or 3 of them and you'd be in the playground, you'd be like, and you just bang them back, and like you wouldn't make a meal out of them. Like you wouldn't with that. You wouldn't be like, I'm going to have 20 of these, and that's what I'm going to have for dinner. You would have like one of them and be like, that's great. And that to me is what Chuchel is. It's this thing that is best enjoyed in short bursts because it's so much. It's so frothy and fizzy and energetic. But you're right. I think it can be quite draining if you're not in the mood.
It's like that time. It reminds me a bit about the time when, and I remember it fondly, when discos had a period of. of releasing their crisps, and in 1 in 5 crisps, they would have what they called a flavour bomb inside of it, which essentially would be the small little sachet of extra flavouring. And Disco's salt and vinegars are already quite the intense crisp, but maybe what they were not anticipating for a small child in the West Midlands to collect several of those packets together and then unleash them on one unsuspecting packet of crisps.
And Billy Batson became Shazam.
How many years after that did it take for your taste buds to grow back?
Yeah.
They haven't, Dan. He has a very unhealthy relationship with vinegar.
I was going to say, is this why you have to have so much vinegar now? Because it's the only way you could taste it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only way. It's the only way I can taste anything, really, is if it's vinegar based. Jeez. But that's what Chuchel's.
Chuchel is a Disco's flavour bomb. Jesus Christ!
I mean, it's probably not a strapline they're going to stick on the box, is it?
No.
Can I have Sam, please? 29.
29 key skills. But wait, there's more. You get all this business knowledge, plus a grasp of marketing that is second nature. Any more numbers?
Go on, Dan, shoot.
I'm going to go with a number 6.
Ooh.
Number 6. Reason for leaving. It was hard work.
That's smart. That's smart to put that on there.
Blimey.
You don't want them to think that you'd be able to do the hard work if you can't.
Pete's still got one too.
Oh yeah, come on, go and get in. A number.
Can we go with lucky number 7?
Personal profile. I be no stranger to double entry.
Oh!
I think there's the explicit tag.
I loves numbers, and my wife and I loves journals and ledgers. Can also do tricky sums when I puts my mind to it. Computer literat.
Computer literat.
Yes. Oh my god, this is the best
Here we
one.
go.
This is the best
Here we go.
Here we are.
Sam.
Here we are.
Give us the encore, Sam. The curtain is closed and we're coming on. The audience is still applauding. We go back on for our second bow. What is it?
This is the best one.
Yeah.
Number 11. Right. No one could have written a better joke than this. If these are fake, the person who wrote them is a genius just because of this. Right. Key skills. It's great.
I mean,
it's so
your
good.
laughter is hyping it up. Okay.
Okay. Perfectionist. With a keen eye for details. And it's the letter I.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That is so layered. That's like that is some like.
That's like something you'd see in The Naked Gun or something, like one of the visual gags.
That's a crossword clue.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh dearie me.
So that was Staying In with myself, Sam Turner, Kris Darby, Peter Willington and Daniel Frost. Thank you so much, you beautiful person, for listening in to today's show. It means so much to us. If you'd like to help us out this year, this 2020, TwentyPlenty, as Peter called it, then please tell plenty of people around you about how much you enjoy listening to our show. We really appreciate it. If you want to find out more information, then stayinginpodcast.com has everything, really. Links to our Steam and Board Game Geek curator pages. Also information on how you can get in touch with us via email, Twitter, Instagram, all that business. Staying in Pod, pretty much anywhere, if you'd like to see what we're up to in between shows. But for now, we'll leave you be. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.